This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
This week's parsha. Imagine, Rabbi Isai, you have a man that is the most wanted man in America. The FBI, the Secret Service, they're all looking for this man. This man is someone that has done the most terrible crimes. They're offering $500,000 for anybody even to give some kind of way to find him. Everyone's looking for him. This is like the most wanted man in America. He's performed the worst crimes possible. Terrible, terrible person. He's done everything you can imagine. Just imagine for one moment, he goes over to a woman and he says to this woman, Hariat Mukudeshes li. I have a ring, I'd like to marry you. That's what he does. So the woman says, hey, I don't know who you are, I don't know what type of person you are, I don't know if you're a good guy, a bad guy. She doesn't look at the signs to see the most wanted man in America. Who is this man? I don't know you. So he says, don't worry, my darling, I'm a big tzaddik. I'm a huge tzaddik. If people don't know, I'm one of those hidden tzaddikim that they don't yet know about. I'm a huge tzaddik. You saw my signs. There's signs about me all over the place. I'm like one of those hidden tzaddikim that the world has. So she says, you're a tzaddik? Oh, wow, I always wanted to marry a tzaddik. No problem. And she says, yes. He gets down on one knee. The whole performance, the champagne comes out. Married. Unbelievable. Mukudeshes. One second, there's a problem over here. And the problem is that he told her that he's a tzaddik. Now we all know that he's not much of a tzaddik. So what's going on? So it tells us the Gemara that it's Mukudeshes, it works. Why? Shema hiru tshuva beliboy. Maybe at the moment when he told this woman he wants to marry Almanas that he's a tzaddik, he for that moment said, you know what, I want to do tshuva. I want to become a better person. Says the Gemara, for that alone is enough that he's mukudeshes to this woman on the very fact that he told her that he's a tzaddik. It works. Why? Says the Gemara, because one moment he decided it's all over, my life, my past, my crimes, whatever I've been doing, I'm not interested. Now I want to serve Hashem. And it's those moments of hero, those moments of thought that can turn a person around completely. And that's the power of Teshuvah. And that's what I want to speak about for a few moments that we have here tonight. Yomim Noraim, Elul, Tishrei, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Serisim Teshuvah. The Zman of Teshuvah, which we know and we've spoken about so many times, is the Zman, is the time that HaKadosh Baruch Hu accepts our Teshuvah so much more than any other time of the entire year. Here's the time that we have an opportunity, a special time, to really connect. And like the Gemara tells us, what does it take? How many people are busy thinking tshuva? Me, I can't do tshuva. I've done this wrong, I've done this wrong. What am I going to be, a tzaddik? How can I do it? The Gemara tells us an amazing thing. Shema yaharu tshuva beliboy, just for one moment. It's worth it for a person for one moment before Rosh Hashanah, before Yom Kippur, to think, and I want to do tshuva, and automatically that's it. He gets a din of a tzaddik, and he can marry that woman. Even though it's an unbelievable thing how that works. And I want to speak about the power of tshuva and what's going on, because a lot of people are miyayish, a lot of people don't understand what it means to do tshuva and how we can do tshuva. Every single person over here has the koyach, has the opportunity to do a tshuva shleima. And I want to speak about tshuva in various different options. Got to cram in as much as I possibly can in the moments that we have. We know on the first very day that Adam HaRishon was in the world, and Adam HaRishon was created on the very first day that he was in the world. So he and Chava, as we know, sinned, ate from the Eitz Hadas. Adam and Chava went into hiding, and eventually they heard the sound of God. They heard Hashem's voice. And as the Torah tells us, HaKadosh Baruch Hu opened up the conversation with one word, Ayeka. Where are you? Says the Baal HaTanya, an unbelievable thing. Says the Baal HaTanya, of course, the Rabbi Shalom and Rashi ready over there says, why was HaKadosh Baruch Hu doing that? Maybe not to give them a shock. But says the Baal HaTanya, those words that the Rabbi Shalom was saying to Adam HaRishon and Chava, Ayeka, where are you? What does that mean? Says the Baal HaTanya, Adam HaRishon, where are you in the world? What happened to you? How could you have fallen so low? You were on such a high status. You were so unbelievable. You were so good. And look, you just fell. Says the Baal HaTanya, that's the question that every single one of us have to ask right now. In this time, Yom HaNorayim, before Rosh Hashanah, before Yom Kippur, during the time of Aseret Teshuvah. Where are we, Ayeka? Where are we in the world? How could we have fallen? Our neshama that's inside our guf is a neshama that came from Kisei HaKovod. It came from Shemayim in the highest possible places. And it's been put in our body. It's been put enclosed in our body, in our guf. What have we done with that? How low have we fallen? How deep have we sunk? And we've taken this most special, most beautiful neshama that the Rabbeinu Shalom gave us, and we dirtied it, and we really soiled it. And now is the time. A little bit heavy. But if we don't discuss this now, when are we going to discuss it? A person has to ask himself this question. Where's he holding? Where are you in the world? Ayeka, as Adam HaRishon was asked this question on the first day, it was Rosh Hashanah. It's the same question we have to ask about ourselves. Where are we holding? What are we doing? You know, if we go into the Indian of Teshuvah, which of course is discussed many, many times throughout Elul, throughout the Yom HaNorayim season, it's very, very interesting how this whole Teshuvah thing works. In fact, the Nesiva Shalom, the son of a Rebbe, discusses in his Maimer on Teshuvah. So he says, he brings a Yerushalmi in Makas Perek Beis, Halacha Vav, where the Yerushalmi asks, where does this come from? How is it possible for a person to do Teshuvah? Just imagine, when the Nesiva Shalom, the Neslanima brings the mashal. A person, Rachmana litzlan, Chas v'shalom la'aleinu, amputates one of his arms. It cuts off one of his limbs. Chas v'shalom la'aleinu. Does it just grow back? It doesn't happen that way. If you lose a limb, it's all over. That's it. Of course, you could try and manage as much as you possibly can, but once you lost the limb, it's over. It's finished. So ask the Slonim Rebbe again brings a Yerushalmi. You do an Aveira. You do something against the Rabbeinu Shalom's wishes. You do a sin. You can't just repair it. It's done. It's too late. It's in the book. It's recorded. It's in the book. It's going to be on the big video that they're going to be playing up there. It's too late. What are you going to do? I can just erase it? How does that work? So the Yerushalmi and Makkos brings that the Malachim asked the Rabbeinu Shalom this question. How can people do an Aveira and just fix it up? No problem. And we'll see in a moment we fix it up to a higher level to where we were before, which is an amazing thought. You do an Aveira, you do something against Hashem, and you have the opportunity to erase it, to fix it up completely. How is that possible? The answer, says the Yerushalmi in Makkos, which again explains in the Nesiva Shalom, the Slonim Rebbe, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu had to create a new Bria. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created a new existence in the world that was never there. It's something called Teshuvah. It wasn't just there. It had to be created, this opportunity for us to take something that we have done and erase it completely. And just turn it into nothing. And in fact, as we'll see, Be'ez Hashem, as the Gemara tells us clearly in Rosh Hashanah, we can even turn it into a mitzvah, as we'll see in a moment. So it's an unbelievable thing that a person has this opportunity, and right now, maybe the moments that we're holding in right now is maybe even more of an opportunity to say to the Rebbeinu Shalom, to think in our minds, hey, I didn't have such a good year. I didn't do everything I should have done. I didn't perform the way I should have performed. I didn't use my neshama to the way that it should have been used. Now's the opportunity to say, God, why did I do that? I'm so sorry. I want to become better. That's it. Bang. Teshuvah. Tzaddik. You could change the whole thing. That's a bria that was created in the world. It's a new existence. And that's something you have to realize. A person becomes reborn. A person becomes a brand new person. The Rambam in Hilchos Teshuvah. Right? We know the famous Gemara in Brachos that everybody knows. The Gemara tells us, Mokim Shebali Teshuvah Imdim, a place that Bali Teshuvah stand. Ein tzadikim gemurim yecholim la'amoid. Even a tzaddik couldn't stand. What's the pshat? Says the Slonim Rebbe in Nesiva Shalom, he explains, because tzadikim gemurim, even they do aveiros. As we know the Posek, we know that everybody does aveiros, even tzadikim gemurim, they do aveiros. But a Bali Teshuvah, someone that did Teshuvah, he's a Bria Chadosha. He's a brand new creation. It's a baby that came out of the mother's womb. Is anybody going to say in that baby, you just did Averas? No, just got bored. Give him a chance. It's a brand new existence. That's us. And that's Pshat in the Rambam. The Rambam says in Hilchos Teshuvah Perek Beis Halacha Daled, an amazing thing which many people ask, what's Pshat in the Rambam? The Rambam says, Medarkei Teshuvah. Says the Rambam, Umeshane Shmoi. You change your name. Kiloima, says the Rambam. Ani ache, I'm a different person. The Eini Oise Ish. I'm not the same person. I'm a completely different person. It's not like I'm the same person with all my aveiros that hopefully have been erased. I'm a brand new person. Come Rosh Hashanah, come Yom Kippur, we do Teshuvah properly, we're a brand new Bria. We're a brand new person. What an opportunity that I have. Rabbeinu Yonah writes the same thing as well. But Yoimahu says Rabbeinu Yonah, and he says that Teshuvah, which everyone should look at before Rosh Hashanah, before Yom Kippur. But Yoimahu, on that day when you do Teshuvah, says Rabbeinu Yonah, Yasa atzmo ki'ilu boy bayoim noilad. A person is born. The day you do Teshuvah, you're a brand new person. You have a creation, you're a new thing, a whole new leaf, a whole new page, a whole new book. And you have the opportunity to do that. And as we said here in Yeshiva so many times, various forms, Rabbi Yonah himself writes, in the beginning of Shari Teshuvah, he brings the famous mashal, and he says of the prison, we said it here before, of that person in the prison, and the prisoners manage to go and get some kind of explosives, and they explode one of the walls, then the whole wall falls down, and all the prisoners start running out. And there's one prisoner still there. And Rabbi Yonah says that the custom, the officers, whatever, the police people, they come over to see what's going on, and they see that everybody's got one guy sitting on the bench. And they start smacking him, saying, "You're an idiot. What are you doing? You had the opportunity to get out of prison and you didn't use the opportunity. You're a fool." Says Rabbeinu Yonah, it applies to every single one of us. We have the same opportunity. We all could do it. Every single person here could sit for a few moments before Rosh Hashanah, during Asay Teshuvah, before Yom Kippur, and say, "God, I'm sorry. I didn't mean what I did. Yeah, I did it. It wasn't what I meant to do. It wasn't really me. I want to be a different person. I really want to makabel on myself. We do Kabbalahs. We've spoken about taking upon ourselves Kabbalahs. We become a brand new person." Says Rabbeinu Yonah, if you don't do that, you're a fool. You're the same person that's sitting in the prison, not running out when you have the opportunity to escape. There was a Maisa with the Baruch Beh. Baruch Beh, as we know, one of the biggest Gedolim. Mechaber Sefer Baruch Shmuel, Talmud of Reb Chaim Brisker. And it was at one point, he was a tremendous yid. Kibbud Avayim was very choshedim. He looked after his parents as much as he possibly could. And when his father left this world, he was a broken man. But a broken man. And people came to the Shiva, one after the other. You can imagine who came to Reb Baruch Beh, to Menachem Ovel by Reb Baruch Beh. You can imagine the Goyim, the Tzaddikim, the Mamish, the Rosh Yeshivas that walked in, and they all tried to Menachem Ovel. And each one tried to say something to try and get him out of his grief. They just couldn't manage. He was a broken man. Until there was an Asifa of all the Rosh Yeshivas, of all the Gedolim in the time. The Chofetz Chaim was also there. And the Chofetz Chaim saw there's a change in his face, there's a change in his enthusiasm to Yiddishkeit, to everything. There was something was missing, something was wrong. So the Chofetz Chaim went over to Reb Baruch Beh and said, "Reb Baruch Beh, what's this? What's up? What's going on? What's the matter?" So Reb Baruch Beh told him, "I'm upset with myself because I didn't perform the mitzvah of Kibbud Avayim properly. I could have done more for my parents. I should have done more for my parents. I'm upset with myself and I can't live with it. There's nothing anyone can say to help me." And the Chofetz Chaim told him wrong. Because there's something called Teshuvah. So the Chofetz Chaim told Reb Baruch Beh, when a person does Teshuvah, it's not just that he's erased whatever happened. He's become a brand new person. You're not the same person. You're a brand new Bria. And when Reb Baruch Beh heard that, you can imagine he was so excited. I'm not the same person. I'm a different person. Now I can continue with life. And that's what Teshuvah is. When a child is born, he's a brand new person. There's brand new opportunities. That's the opportunities we have. We can turn ourselves into brand new people. We just have to do Teshuvah. When a person realizes what's at stake, when a person realizes how much he could do, and he realizes how well he could be, that's a whole different situation. The Medrash, for example, talks about a very interesting Medrash. Bereshis Rabbah Percha Beis. The Medrash talks about how the dogs used to hang around the doorway of the bakery shop. Dogs are always looking for something to eat, and there was nothing for them to eat particularly, so they would hang around by the bakeries, and they would wait for the perfect opportunity. What they would do is, the Medrash says this, they would lie there, pretending to be asleep, and when they were, pretending to be asleep, the baker, whatever, wasn't really watching them, because the dogs are sleeping, so there's nothing to watch. Obviously, they're careful of everything that they have over there. They wouldn't want to be sure that the dogs took anything. But when the dogs are sleeping, so they looked away. Once they looked away, the dog took the opportunity, took the entire tray, overturned the whole thing. You can imagine the noise and everything. All the rolls went flying. The baker guy's running over what's going on, trying to save whatever he can. And the dog takes one roll and walks away. He's happy. The baker guy takes all the rolls, he puts them back on the tray, he counts them, and he says, oh, okay, you only took one roll, no, not the end of the world. Says the Medrash. The Medrash tells us it's exactly what the Yetzer Hara does to us. He sleeps, so to speak, goes on the quiet. And then he gets you to do something when it's all tumult, when it's all busy, when you're not thinking, when you're not into it, whatever it is. He gets you to do something, and afterwards you think to yourself, no, all right, the big thing I didn't do, but then I did something small. Says the Medrash, that's exactly what he tried to get you to do. He only wanted you to get the small thing, because through the small thing he can get you to do the big things also. As the Gemara tells us clearly. The Chavis Halavavis writes, Shayichud HaMaiser, he says, you sleep, but he's awake, referring to the Yetzer Hara. You have to realize that at any moment the Yetzer Hara can come and can get us, and that's what he's trying to do. That's the job of the Yetzer Hara. Now what's the difference? We know the Chazal tell us, a very interesting thing. Chazal tells us there's a difference between Teshuvah mi'ava and Teshuvah mi'ira. There's such a thing called doing Teshuvah because you're scared of punishment, you're scared of what's going to be up there, what temperature they're going to roast you at. And there's something called Teshuvah mi'ava, because you love the Rabbeinu Shalom. What's the difference? So I heard once, a while back, from Rabbi Tat Shlita. So he says the difference is like this. Teshuvah mi'ira means like this. Teshuvah mi'ira means a person is scared. A person is scared. Why are you doing Teshuvah? Because you're worried about what's going to happen up there. But you're not really doing Teshuvah. You're not really repenting, and that's why you should be repenting. And the biggest proof is, if I would guarantee you that you will never be punished for what you're about to do, you'll do it again. Because the only reason you're not going to do it again is because of the Teshuvah, because you were scared. So what's the highest level? The highest level is Teshuvah mi'ava. When a person comes to the recognition of that which HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave him, when a person realizes what he has and what opportunities he has, how far he can get in life, then he says to Rabbeinu Shalom, I'm sorry, not because he's scared. He says sorry because he's honestly sorry to Rabbeinu Shalom. How can I do this to you? How can I upset you like this? A child says to his father, Daddy, how can I have done this to you? You're my father, you've given me everything. And a child that says that to the father, what does the father do? The father says, my child, I love you. I was waiting for those words. Thank you for saying, and he gives him a hug and gives him everything he wants to give him. That's what Teshuvah mi'ava is, the realization the Rabbeinu Shalom gives us everything, is running the world. And when we do an Aveir, it's terrible to the Rabbeinu Shalom. The Chil Hashem that's involved is terrible. And that's the real Teshuvah. Why? Because that's the real change. Because if a person, as the Rambam tells us, is in the same situation and he did a real Teshuvah, he won't do it again, which is how the Rambam learns is the prerequisite for all Teshuvah. Says the Rambam, Teshuvah, real Teshuvah, is to be in the situation all over again, with the same desire, in the same setup, the same atmosphere, everything the same. And you have the opportunity exactly the same to do the same Aveir you did, and you say, no, I did Teshuvah, I'm not doing it again. Says the Rambam, that is real Teshuvah. And like Rabbi Tat says, medically, if somebody takes a bone and he breaks his bone, so medically, in a regular case, that bone will not break again in the same place. It might break in another place, but it won't generally break in the same place, because when it mends itself so that it's so strong that it won't break in the same place. That's what Teshuvah is. Teshuvah is we've understood what we've done wrong, and we fix it in such a way that it's so strong that it's not going to happen again. Reb Chaim Friedlander, in his Sefer Sifsei Chaim, brings the Gemara in Avodah Zarah Yud Zayin Amud Aleph. The Gemara tells us very, very, very much detail about the famous Maisa Eliezer ben Dudoi. We know the famous Maisa that he traveled from place to place around the world. There wasn't a Zoyna that was untouched by him that he didn't find and seek out, until once he found in the other end of the world there's a Zoyna over there that he never managed to meet. And he made his travel arrangements and he went there. Imagine the Mesiras Nefesh to do such an Aveira, to go around the world to do. There are people that do these things nowadays. They travel all sorts of places around the world to do various Aveiras. So this is what he did. He went around the world to try and do this. The Chazal tell us, without going into all the detail right now, we haven't got the time. The woman said to him, after he passed wind, that just as this wind will never go back, you'll never do Teshuvah. And as we know, he sat between two mountains, but his hands and his head between his knees, and he cried, and a Baskel came out and said he's done Teshuvah and he's a tzaddik. Says Reb Chaim Friedlander, there's that Sal in Sifsei Chaim. What does that tell us? Many messages. There's a famous Maral on it. We're not going to go into too many details. But you know what it tells us? It tells us however low we sink, whatever we've done to upset the Rebbeinu Shalom, whatever it might be, HaKadosh Baruch Hu always takes us back. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is that loving father. And just as a father will never say no to his children, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will never say no to us as well. How do we do this? How could we do this? What do we do to really, really hit this home? So I have an idea like this. I think this is probably one of the Mahalchim. There's many Mahalchim, but I think this is one of them. Reb Chaim Shmulevitz used to say very many times that the best shield for Aveira is the appreciation of who you are and how great you can be. And he brings a raya from the Gemara in Shabbos. There's a Gemara in Shabbos, Yud Beis, Omid Beis, where the Gemara tells us over there that you're not allowed to read by a candle. Why are you not allowed to read by a candle? Because maybe you'll come along and you'll tilt it and you'll mess around with the wick and you'll be over one the Lamates Malachas. Says the Gemara, if you're someone choshev, then it's okay. Now it's very interesting, because at the end of the day the Gemara tells over there, Rabbi Shmuel ben Elisha said, I'll read and I won't tilt. And what happened was, he read and he almost tilted it. And he decided he's going to bring a korban chatos when the Beis HaMikdash comes. And the Gemara said, hey, what's going on? The answer is, he treated himself like a regular person. Says Reb Chaim Shmulevitz, when a person realizes the greatness of who he is, when he realizes how choshev he can be, when he realizes how much potential he has, he's not going to do Aveiros. It stops him from doing Aveira when you realize who you are, what that neshama inside you can accomplish. When you have that says Reb Chaim Shmulevitz, is the highest form of a shield that can shield a person from doing Aveiros. And a person has to realize, to use this potential. To Chavis Alabovis, if you've ever gone through the Hagdama to Chavis Alabovis, he writes that he was thinking, why does no one write such a sefer called Chavis Alabovis? He lived hundreds and hundreds of years ago. No one wrote a sefer about Chavis Alabovis, about B'tochen, about all the things that a person's Yichud Elokim, all the things that a person meant to think about. So he thought, maybe I'm going to do it. Then he said, me? Who am I? How can I write such a sefer? Until eventually, as you read the Hagdama, he says, I realized Rebbeinu Shalom gave me Siyat Tishmaya. I had to stop being such an honor, and I've got to write the sefer. Rav Victor Miller, in his parish, in his explanation of Chavis Alavavos, so he brings over there and he says it's a tremendous lesson for us, tremendous lesson. And he brings a mice of Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu, as we know, was told by the Rabbeinu Shalom to go and save Klal Yisrael. And what did Moshe Rabbeinu answer? We know Moshe Rabbeinu and HaKadosh Baruch Hu had, so to speak, an argument for many days. And Moshe Rabbeinu said, no, I'm not interested. Right? Moshe wasn't interested in going. He didn't feel it was Roy. Until eventually HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Moshe, Moshe, take your stick and throw it on the floor, and it became a snake. And then HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Moshe, you see that snake? Pick it up. And Moshe says, Chazal tell us, jump back. He wasn't interested in picking up the sticks, but the Rebbeinu Shalom told him to do it. So he picked up the stick and it became, again, a stick. And the Rebbeinu Shalom told him, you have the power, you're going. It says with Avigdor Miller's Zatzal in Hagdama to Chavis Alavavos, the snake is the Yetzer Hara. And often a person is scared to actually attack and use the powers that he's given to go against nature of using the Yetzer Hara. And he's worried about it. And the Moshe Rabbeinu is the lesson, says Avigdor Miller, to teach us, no. Every person has the potential, every person has the strength, you just have to use it. You have to use the strength that you were given. And it's a small, easy, step-by-step, day-by-day accomplishment. Mamashkiach Ibn Cholowik once said over that how do people get through the death marches? The end of the war, when the Third Reich were losing and they were shrinking in their army size. So they took the inmates from the concentration camps and they made them go on what's called famously a death march. Step by step, hundreds and hundreds of miles. It was terrible. Many people died along the way. It was their way of killing people, whatever. How did they survive? How do you survive such a thing? So he said the answer was they didn't survive by waking up in the morning and saying, how am I going to get to the end of the day? You don't survive that way. You survive by saying, let me get one step at a time. And that's what the Rebbeinu Shalom wants from us. Come Rosh Hashanah, come Yom Kippur. It's not a time that we're meant to do everything perfect and be everything that we're meant to be, but at least take the steps to get there. Have the realization what we're meant to be and take the steps to get to that place. There was a boy who just became a Roy to drive. He got his driving license. His father, who was a doctor, had a very fancy car. Sitting in the driveway, he obviously felt it was a huge shaila about hashkafa that his father's fancy car should be in the driveway without anyone driving it. So he took the keys for his first spin, and off he goes. It was raining, it was cold, it was a little bit foggy, and he skidded and he smashed into a tree and completely totaled the car and got very, very hurt, very badly hurt. Hatzalah was called. They took him to the local hospital where his father happened to work. And the doctor on duty was told that this young man was driving a fancy car and smashed and hurt himself. The doctor walks in, who happened to be his father, and sees his son in such a state and realizes obviously what happened to his new car. And he doesn't say anything to his son. You can imagine a father's not going to say to his son, hey, how could you do such a thing? What's the matter with you? Father doesn't do that. Father says, you need my help right now. You're reaching out to me. I'm giving you all the help you can. That's what Rabbi Shalom wants from us. The Rabbi Shalom wants from us, yes, it's true, we went through the year. Maybe we weren't the best person. Maybe we could have been better. Maybe we should have been better. But at the end of the day, if we reach out to the Rabbeinu Shalom and we say, Rabbeinu Shalom, please, I want to become better. Kodesh Baruch Hu says, I'm that father, I'm that loving father, I'll take you back. Let me just end with one last thing. Somebody recently told me they were making a simcha, and there was someone that asked specific to do some kind of job at the simcha. And they weren't interested in giving him that job. He's not a very responsible person, but they felt it would give him the chizuk. He's had a hard life. You know what? Let's give him the job. Whatever the job was, they gave him the job. Unfortunately, at the time of performing that job at the simcha, the person was completely plastered. He was completely drunk. He didn't perform the job properly. But he comes the next morning, the guy told me himself, comes the next morning to collect his wages for the job that he did last night. And the guy says, chutzpah. Chutzpah. I give you an opportunity. And he said even more, he was telling me, he says to me, this guy was a ben bias by me. He said he used to stay in my house. He used to eat my food. He had an open, anything in the kitchen. It was all yours, everything you needed. I gave him everything. And I asked from him one favor, do me a favor, at the simcha, at least do what I tell you to do the job. And he didn't, he got drunk. And now, not more than that, he comes to ask for his money. The next day he comes to ask for his money. A chutzpah. As this person was telling me this maisa, there was someone else standing there. And he said, isn't it interesting? Because don't we do the same thing come Rosh Hashanah? HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us everything. Everything. Open house, whatever you need. Food, parnasa, health, parents, everything. And we take it, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, do me a favor, take the neshama and do the best that you possibly can. And you know what? We just get drunk. Just have a great time. Have a great life. Do whatever we want. And we come Rosh Hashanah and we say, God, pay up. We want another life. We want a new year. We want everything else. We want health. We want parnasa. We want shalom bayis. We want good children. We want everything. The Rebbeinu says, oh, what did you do when I gave you the job? You didn't perform your job. Why should I do mine? But obviously the Rebbeinu doesn't work that way. And obviously HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us everything that we possibly need. And in Mitzvah Shem Rabbi said, this Rosh Hashanah, this Yom Kippur, these are says made Teshuvah. Let us take a few moments of our time to think about what Teshuvah can do. What it can do for ourselves, a bria chadosha, we can become a brand new person, step by step, small steps, little by little. Think about it. Realize the neshama the Rebbeinu Shalom gave us. Realize the potential that every Jew has to become. And in Mitzvah Hashem, if we do that, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give us all a good gebench.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.